Hello. Over the last couple of weeks on the Foundry Discord, there's been a lot of questions and confusions again about Dragonbane or similar games and how to use the Year Zero combat engine to manage initiative. I have previously made a video of this. This is, however, quite a long time ago. And because this is a lot of questions have been coming up again, I thought, okay, I'll show you. Now, just to put that out there, I did not develop the Dragonbane system, nor the Year Zero combat engine, nor anything else. So I'm just a user of this, but I've been using this a fair bit, for instance, for running this campaign here, the Icewind Bane, where we take Icewind Dale and run it in Dragonbane. So if you want to see it in action, then you can watch lots of streams and recordings on this YouTube channel here. So the first things first. I'll show you the modules I've installed. Then I'm going to show you a couple of configurations. Then I'm going to show you combat examples and a few tricks. And then later on, I'm going to show you also the more detailed options within the Year Zero combat engine, like things like switching initiative with somebody else, swapping them over, or having more than one card drawn. And I might also show you a couple of limitations if you use the 1 to 10 cards, but you might have more than 10 participants in the combat. Anyway, let's have a look. So first of all, I have not installed a lot of menus. I actually might just blow this up a bit more so you can read it better. So I've not installed a lot here, but I've installed a few things. So if I go to active modules only, the relevant ones for what we're about to do, or the relevant, there's only one really, is the Year Zero combat engine. Yeah, the other ones I've just done for niceties. I haven't actually picked a 3D die yet, but yeah, so dice are nice. Yeah, I've got a couple of nice dice set here, but dice tray is this, are the extra dice down here, not relevant today. I've got the core set in the bestiary, so I can draw some tokens on. And the rest, yeah, as I said, is not really relevant. It's only this one here, Year Zero combat engine. I've got that one on. So with that on, if you go to configure settings, you will see that you have here Year Zero combat engine, no, Year Zero engine combat settings. So when you first enable it, it will set up an initiative deck for you. So if you go to your card decks over here on the side, you will see there's an initiative card deck that has been set up, and there's a discard pile. Should you at any time need to redo this, you can go to the initiative deck. You can, from this little token up here, the compendium icon, you can grab the document ID, and you can see it ends BZCA, and you can put that in here. Interesting. It's not the one that I actually currently am referencing. But that's where you paste it in, and then you could work it like this. So initiative sort order is the first option. Dragonbane usually works 1 to 10, so we'll keep it ascending lowest first. Automatic initiative draw, yeah, we will do that. Reset the initiative deck, yes, keep that on. And do it each round. So these are important, otherwise you might run out of, this one here in particular, otherwise you might run out of cards and get an error. Make sure it's ticked. It's ticked by default. Choose the best card. Now this one here, if there are players who can draw more than one card, they normally get the option. To be honest, I can't show you that very well today because I don't have a player logged on. But you could skip that option of selecting the best card and just say, go for the better one. Send messages in the chat. Yeah, so that's going to be here. You can enable slow and fast actions, which is good for Forbidden Lands or Coriolis. Or you can enable single action. And I'll show you that on the combat tracker, but it allows you to track for Dragonbane whether somebody has acted that round or not. Because you can use your action as a reaction, so before it's actually your turn. This is a really useful little function. I would definitely recommend you use that. Duplicate combatants. So if a monster, for example, have a ferocity of 2 or 3, so they get several initiative cards, this one here duplicates them and gives them another initiative card. However, you need to read carefully here. It does say on combat start. So you will only see that duplication once you say begin combat. Yeah, not when you draw initiative. Begin combat, that's when they get duplicated. So there's a lot of people asking, oh, I'm doing everything, but it doesn't show me 2 entries. You have to go through that step. The ferocity is pre-configured here. I didn't have to do anything on that one. This basically is the value on the monster character sheet that tells people how many initiative cards you can get. You can also say here, the same for actors. There's nothing configured there. As far as I'm aware, there's not a stat. It's just lightning reflexes, for example, that allows you to draw 2 initiative cards, once per round, and choose the one you would prefer. And maximum draw size, I'm going to keep it at 3. I think there are actually combatants, monsters, who can have up to 3. Normally it's 1 or 2. So, as you can see, the only one I changed, I really had to change, was enable single action. Everything else was as default. So I saved this in. Now I've got a little battle here. I've chosen my pre-gens. I might just get rid of or not include in the combat a couple. I'll just park them over here. Make it slightly easier to see. So I've got 3 NPCs and I've got a few monsters. Now I chose those monsters because, let me just unpause the game. The Hippogriff has got a ferocity of 2. So I can show you how that works with the several cards being drawn. And the Forest Giant, we can actually leave him out for now. It's a monster, but only has ferocity 1. But it behaves the same as a normal actor. This is an orc warrior. He doesn't have a ferocity stat, so he only gets 1 initiative. So, to get into combat, I select these guys. Drag and drop, just basically drag a frame over them until they're selected. These people I want in combat. I can right-click on them here and just choose toggle combat state, the sword. I think most people who know Foundry will have discovered this. Now, if you have the combat encounters up here, you can now see, interesting, hasn't added, the orc, has it? Hasn't added, oh, it's because it's my previous combat, I haven't ended. Let's do that again. So, select, I was experimenting beforehand. Now you can see them all, yeah? And I can pop this out as well. Little tip. If you right-click on the swords up there, you get a pop-out combat tracker. So we can keep a better eye on it and still see the chat messages. So the first thing I could do here is I could draw the initiatives, or I can just say begin combat. So if you want to manually do it, these buttons up here, draw all. So if everybody gets initiative, or draw NPCs only. In case you want to do something else for the PCs, or they want to do it themselves, doesn't matter really. But it should work if I just hit begin combat. So you can see it duplicated the Hippogriff now on combat start, only then, and has distributed all the different cards. And what's quite nice, if you have this module installed, if you hover over somewhere, it blows it up for you. Yeah, and it's a nice graphic effect. So, I would now go through the combat. Yeah, just normally if you go through, everybody gets their turn. On the next turn, it gets redrawn. Yeah, so that's all automatic, and you can also see this message shuffled all the discarded initiative cards back into the deck. That basically refreshes the pile. You can also do that here, yeah, between rounds if you want to reset initiative. Takes it away, puts them all back in, shuffles them, and then if you then go to next turn, you can also use this next round. It will then repopulate it. So if you wanted to reset it, you can. Otherwise, you might start drawing when you only have 5 cards in the deck. But this works quite nicely. So if, for example, I've got my little caster here, and he says, oh, I'm a bit afraid of these guys. I'd rather Makanda goes before me. You can right-click here on this guy, and you can say, swap initiative. I will then pop it up and say, okay, who do you want to swap with? Makanda. So you can see they have now changed. Yeah? So that's something you can do. You can also, if you wanted to, I don't have cause for this right now, but if you had, I don't know, 5 orcs here, 5 different orcs, let me show you this. Just go to orc. No, orc with a C. And I put a shaman on there and a couple of warriors. And I add them to the combat. And this could be a bit tedious to manage so many different initiatives, right? What you can do is you can say, okay, the shaman here, he is going to be the group leader. So you right-click on it, make it group leader. And the others are going to, you get this little green icon here. And the others are his followers. That means if I do this, follow Orc Shaman, they will act on the same initiative as the shaman. So if I now go to the next round, you see that between them, they're only getting 1 initiative. That can save you when you have the problem of too many people for 10 cards, because otherwise you cannot end up with duplicates. So if you have more than 10, it will draw the first 10 cards, it will then shuffle them and then draw them again, so you might end up with 2 people sitting on a 5. Yeah, then you can of course come up with a rule to say, okay, monsters always go first or players always go first. But this is a good way around it. One disadvantage if you do this and only have all the enemies grouped, basically what you end up doing, you just say, okay, players act, monsters act, players act, monsters act, and you don't have as many tactical options. So I would use this option if otherwise it gets hard to manage, but it's good to have a little bit of variation, of turn taking. Yeah, so monsters, players, monsters, players, monsters, players, and only then is the next round. So keep that in mind when you do this. So, so I've shown you swapping, I've shown you grouping. What else can you do? You can actually, if you have a particular player here, I don't know, let's say Makanda, you can say, draw another card. Yeah, so he's now got the 5 and the 10, and then he can choose which one he likes. So of course he's going to stick with the 5. Okay, so that's how you can do things like lightning fast. Or you can do things like update combatant. If I want to give them a particular card that is still available in the deck, yeah, I can then say, okay, I want to give them the available number 1, for example. Yeah. You could also say, I want you to draw 2 cards or 3 cards, but remember, we already duplicated the hippogriff. So if you did that here, that would end up having too many actions. So update combatant, you can now see he's got number 1. So that's how you can assign a particular initiative to a player. I haven't tried whether you can take an initiative away from somebody. Let's try that. So I'm going to do the same. I'm going to go update combatant, and I want to give Baston here a card that is already drawn by somebody else or discarded. Now I cannot choose the discarded ones, but I can take his own card. So only the one he has drawn or the available cards. So anything that's discarded, I cannot issue. Yeah, makes sense, I guess. So, I think that is pretty much it. And a couple of other things while I'm here. Yeah, by the way, if you like this sort of content, leave me a comment or thumb or follow, even better. Oh, sorry, a sub. I always like that because I can see that what I invest the time in is useful to somebody. You can link combat trackers to particular scenes and have another combat on a different scene. So you could have a different encounter up here. You create another encounter, and you could even say you're fighting over there in the cave and you guys are fighting out there, and you can do switching back and forth without having to do that. So I don't have the second one set up, but if I had the second encounter now, I could then switch back and forth here between them and manage 2 different encounters, even 3 or 4 at the same time. There are some tracker settings here as well. Not a lot, but you could, for example, say, okay, within my combat tracker, I want to track how much willpower people have got. Yeah, doesn't normally matter, but you could. You can also skip defeated automatically, makes sense. And you can say, okay, I want to have a fight commentator. So I'm going to end this combat. I'm going to restart a combat, doesn't really matter, I just want to show you this. And if I now say begin,
combat begins.
You get that. I don't know whether you heard it. Hopefully you did. Combat begins. Or you can have a tune, or you could have a song that starts playing. I don't do this typically, but you could. And here you can see that the willpower gets tracked, but only once here for the Orc Warrior, not for each Orc Warrior. Not quite sure why. Why does one of them has a 9? I don't know. But yeah, that's the functions of the combat tracker pretty much. I probably have forgotten something. If you want to know more, let me know. Leave me a comment. But I think that really explains the basics of it. As a contrast, I might just briefly show you. If I disable this now, save the module settings, reload my game. By the way, it's no effect is because we play nice with Bane. Select a few people, start the combat. Toggle combat state. Did it do it? I hope so. Yeah, there we go. And I now say begin combat.
Fight.
It doesn't do anything automatic. So I will have to roll all, and you see it's a D20 roll, and it starts with the highest. That's the default configuration here. Yeah? And you can, I think, can you change that in the basic settings? I can't remember. And the core settings, combat tracker, configure. No, that's the same options. So you can't even change that in the default, unless I'm missing something. Anyway, I hope that was useful to you. As I said, this is a new game here. The only thing, I've not put any extra modules in other than the ones I've shown you. And the only one I really showed you the function of was Year Zero Engine Combat. Get it the right way around. And there might be other stuff out there that I'm missing. Let me know. Yeah. But as I said, hopefully this is useful to some of you, and hopefully it will reduce the number of queries we get in the Discord, because it can be a bit frustrating for everybody, both players who want to get to grips with this and also developers who explain the same thing lots of times. Right, Patrick? Right. For now, thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.